Hi, I'm Liron Cohen.
And I'm Mimi Torchin.
And you're listening to Lady Parts TV, the podcast.
Whee!
Hi, everybody, and welcome to another podcast from Lady Parts TV. How are you all doing?
Hello. I'm doing fine. I'm tired.
You sound very hoarse.
I'm a little bit sleepy.
So, listen, we have to let you know we only surveyed 15 primetime shows for you for the stats this week, and in a second you'll understand why. We've been binging on an older season of a show, so that's why we didn't have enough episodes to actually have for the sample. Anyway, out of the 15, though, kind of good. 7 were written or co-written by women, which is almost 50%, and 40%, 6 were directed by women. So that's actually a pretty good sample.
I think it really is.
Maybe it's the key is to keep it small.
Well, then we've skewed it.
No, I know. Anyway, so we first have to get serious about something, because this is a mind-blowing experience that we're about to recommend to you.
Yes,
but a very important one.
And I'm sorry almost to have to tell you how mind-blowing it is, because the surprise element of its mind-blowingness
well, we're not going to tell you exactly
phenomenal.
How. We're just going to tell you.
No, but you're already knowing it's going to blow your mind.
It's going to blow your mind. It's a Netflix special by a comedian that I've never heard of until now, but I'm definitely interested now in going back and looking her up. Her name is Hannah Gadsby. She's a stand-up comic from Tasmania.
Which is something you may never have heard of before and might never again.
And her special is called Nanette. Don't even ask why. She explains at the beginning. Not important.
And it doesn't really...
No. And she is very funny in a very, very kind of subversive way. Mm-hmm. But, from her story, I understand that she has been a comic for a while. She's had several stand-up specials probably. But this is a crucial moment in her life and in the planet's life.
Yes.
And so this is a very, very different kind of special from what she usually does.
Yes, and it changes tenor midstream quite effectively.
Yes, it starts off, it sneaks up on you because she's very disarming, because she's very, first of all, she's funny.
And self-deprecating.
A little bit. And sensitive
quiet
and gentle.
In her way. Funny.
But
very
then,
subtly funny.
But then. Mm-hmm. Now, some of the topics that are discussed also are,
Someone lights the fuse.
Yeah, well... She knows how to do it, how to flip that switch very, very gently on you. You don't even notice it. But we barely drew a breath in the last half hour of the special.
As did the audience. And the audience sat absolutely in stunned silence.
And we were speechless after it for about 10 whole minutes before we could even start talking about it. Now, some of the topics that come up in this special, I think, are especially of interest to our listeners. Homosexuality, homophobia, misogyny.
Patriarchy. Art history, mental health.
Art history. I would just like to say.
Yes. Maybe we just point out art history.
Brilliant way of incorporating art history into this discussion. Mental health, and even Trump, which is, of course, a symptom of a society that is
broken society.
Yeah. We can't recommend it to you enough. We think it's extremely important viewing. Please drop everything you're doing, except for this podcast. Finish this podcast first.
Yes, do finish the podcast.
But then drop everything you're doing. Go to Netflix and watch Hannah Gadsby, Nanette. All right? Now,
you'll thank us.
Yeah, please let us know afterwards what you thought of that, and share with your friends, because I think this should be spread out as widely as possible.
It was recommended to us, wasn't it?
Well, we read about it before, but then a friend of ours, Susie, wrote and told us, you have to watch this. And thank you, Susie. Okay, so the reason we haven't been tallying any new shows is because we've been binging on...
Ozark. How did we miss this during the first season? I mean, I know we knew Laura Linney was in it.
And to me, that usually is enough.
Yep, it's about enough. But Ozark, I mean, the Ozarks, I thought it was all about hillbillies. I just...
You know what I just realized also? Artwork has a very important role. Because I think the artwork of the show, when I've heard of it and I checked it out a little bit, it looked very male to me. and I don't know what about it did, but it looked very male to me. And it kind of, you know what? It's like Breaking Bad, and we're not just randomly making this comparison.
There are comparisons to be made throughout.
We resisted Breaking Bad for about, I think after it was
5
done.
years, I think, yeah.
Every year they were winning awards, and I'm like, oh, not Breaking Bad again.
Who wants to watch this?
It's so male, it's so violent. It is male and violent, but it was also superb.
Shocking, surprising, funny,
but this
violent.
Show, well, first of all, tell them where it is, what it is, and
okay. So it takes place in Missouri on the Lake of the Ozarks. Quite a beautiful spot. Very. Just pristinely beautiful. These people, Laura Linney and her husband, Jason Bateman, and 2 children, are forced to leave Chicago and decide to go here and try to find a way to launder the money that they've been doing through a money management
that they
firm.
owe.
Yeah, $8 million worth.
Because otherwise they're all
going to be killed by a Mexican cartel. They, it turns out, had been this management firm. He and his partner have been money management, have been laundering money for this Mexican cartel, and they were caught skimming. Not Jason Bateman; he didn't know anything about it.
Anyway, the point is...
What's so fascinating about it is this is just a very nice middle-class American family caught up in the most violent business you can be in, being involved with the drug cartel. And they come to this backwater where...
Thinking that's where the answers lie, right?
Yes, so he can buy up a lot of businesses... and launder money through them. But there's already some competition there, some very steep competition.
A lot of different types.
Yeah, and interesting types, a lot of surprises. The acting is very, very good. It would seem to be, again, a male show, but it's not. Because the women are by far the most interesting characters, and there are many of them.
It's not only that they're by far the most
they're
interesting,
really powerful,
but it also reminds me of Goliath that we talked about a couple of weeks ago or last week, because the man is in the center of the show, but it's the women around him who run the whole thing,
and are so fascinating.
Yeah.
And it depends on.
Right.
And
Laura Linney, one of the reasons I resisted this show for so long, or just didn't really bother, was because I thought she was just playing the wife. No. She's not playing
Laura Linney
wife.
never just plays anything.
I know, but there's the actor infusing the character with more than what's on the paper, but there's also a lot on the paper. Mm-hmm. So that's terrific. By the way, you forgot to mention this is a Netflix show.
Oh yes, Netflix.
It's so this is the first season, which was actually last year, and we're watching it now, gearing up for the second season, which will become available August 31st. So you have enough time to binge on it. It's a very easy, quick binge.
To binge on
it's
it,
only
though
10
it's quite
episodes.
dark.
Yes, but
and
you know
you're going to be depressed.
But you know what? It's not, if we're comparing it to Breaking Bad, which was also about a family man who gets in trouble. But this time, it's not just the family man who gets in trouble. It's the entire family that kind of joins the effort. Mm-hmm. And also, it's not as violent.
No, but there is violence, and there's the constant threat of violence,
right? But
which is less offensive in some ways, but much more. It makes you nervous. I'm anxious from the minute this. It starts until the end of the episode, and then it hangs over me.
But what I like is, as opposed to Walter White, and this is only the first season of Ozark, so who knows where it's going to go, but as opposed to Walter White, who really took to the violence aspect of it very, very easily, because he had a lot of rage. He had a lot of masculinity that was all this time had been, not...
He was a teacher.
He was a teacher, and listen, in the first episode, they make sure to let you know he was a teacher. He was kind of a dorky chemistry teacher, and his wife was really the boss in the family.
Oh, yes.
He was very kind of, what do you call it, emasculated?
Pussy whipped.
Yes, and this is his chance to really show what kind of a macho male.
Yes,
in many ways...
took to it like a fish to water.
In many ways, this was a show about the masculinity crisis of America.
Yes, gone mad.
Well, yes, because women are getting more power, gay people are getting more power, minorities are getting more power, and here is this white middle-class man feeling he needs to show somebody that he's still the boss. But this is not the case in this show. In this show, first of all...
It's about money. It
Well,
started off about money. It's really about
the family. It's about
Yes.
protecting his family. He was already ready to kill himself, but the threat of his family being killed is what really is keeping him going. And he doesn't resort to violence. He
resorts to the truth. It's so fascinating. First of all, he's manipulative. He knows how to talk.
Understands psychology.
He's a real talker.
He's a smooth talker,
a very smooth talker. And he will often, as a last resort, just tell the people what's happening.
Yeah, just tell the truth.
And if you don't, go along with it, we're going to be killed. You're going to be killed.
There will be circumstances.
Yes.
Not mine. There's a boss.
Yes.
It's very, very, very excellent in that way because I don't want to hate him. I really don't want to hate him.
No, and I don't hate him. I don't have a lot of admiration for him.
No, but he's
doing the best he can, having gotten himself in a
situation.
bad situation. Now, the surprise to me of this whole
Absolutely.
show is Julia Garner.
Julia Garner, whom you might know.
You will probably
from The Americans, from
Grandma,
which we love, by the way. If you haven't seen Grandma, because it kind of came and went.
Yeah.
If you haven't seen Grandma, go see Grandma.
Good movie. Julia Garner is a revelation in this, and you will love her, in spite of the fact she's a tough cookie and she doesn't have much morals.
Much more complex
she
than
is
just a tough cookie.
complex young woman, and she is smart as a whip in a family of hillbillies.
And and the thing is you're saying she's a tough cookie and stuff, but she had to be because she grew up like that. But I think what's also special about it, and this is why this show is so good, because it's not just about crime and violence, it's about family. And what's important about this is that she is now looking at this family, looking at the relationships that they have, the love, the commitment, and she's starting to be jealous. And all of a sudden you see this...
Because she never had this.
Yeah, and you see the softness coming out of her, which maybe she didn't even know existed in her because she never had the luxury of tapping into it.
No, she was the smart one in a family of not too smart people. She also
and violent
has a
criminals.
cousin who's pretty smart. Yes, very violent criminals. No, not the worst criminals in the Ozarks.
No, not.
In this place, there's a family of really
pretty rough
bad
bunch,
people.
and I have a feeling her father is one of the really bad people in Ozark.
Yeah, she goes to visit him in jail, and he's a horrible man. He's about to get out, by the way.
Oh, great.
Yes.
Anyway, I just want to say for a final note, if we haven't emphasized this enough, Laura Linney is divine in everything, but in this, I'm just loving the character of Wendy.
She's surprising. She's surprising in this, and
I'm just loving seeing her. She's very, very important in this.
It's a very subtle kind of a show. It really, really is. It sneaks up on you, and it grabs you by the throat, and it doesn't let you go. But there's a lot of surprises in this show. A lot of twists, fascinating twists and turns, and I couldn't recommend it more highly. Although it's depressing, and
go to Netflix now. Go to Netflix now. Season 2 will be available on August 31st, so you want to catch up with the 10 episodes of season 1 before that.
It won't take you
Ozark.
long.
Okay, now we have 3 movies to review for you. The first one is the kind of movie that we would never have gone to see.
We went because we were on the vineyard and it was here, and we were in the mood.
We watch movies here that we would never otherwise go see. I mean, we would probably see this on television, but not we wouldn't pay to go see it. It's called Adrift. And it's based on the book of a real-life story, Sky in Mourning, the true story of love, loss, and survival at sea by Tammy Ashcraft. And
this is her story. This is a true story. It will blow your mind. You just, again, mind-blowing.
Well, I love
because she survived this unbelievable ordeal.
With stories like this, I'm really happy that I know it's a true story, because otherwise I would have said, oh, well, but it's just a movie. Of course it happened.
No, not just a movie.
This is unbelievable that this one, and it's starring Shailene Woodley as Tammy and Sam Claflin as Richard. And even though it's also a love story, it's really a story about how kick-ass this chick was. I mean, the resilience, the strength. I don't know how she found the strength, the resources, inside of her.
Really and truly.
I would have
she just
really
wanted to
overboard.
live. She really, really wanted to live. Sam Claflin is kind of an and also ran in the film. And I rather like him. I liked him in Me Before You. But he's sort of a lackluster in this. But she, in her own quiet way, absolutely steals the whole... Well, she does, of course. She's the center of the movie. And she's absolutely riveting.
And first of all, Shailene Woodley is really constantly, as an actress, she's so young, and every choice that she's been making is just growing and growing and really cementing her I think is one of the good young actresses.
Fine young actresses.
Yeah. And it's a story about, of course, you can imagine, adrift, a survival at sea.
Yes,
you know what it's about.
Yes, you know right from the get-go what it's about.
But the reason that it managed to keep you mesmerized and truly take you on this journey, even though we've seen it before, in one way or another, is because of her. Because her character is just her character. I mean, who she was really is really admirable. And
also the circumstances are just, unreal, but they're real.
Well, I also want to say about Shailene Woodley, this movie was shot, over 90% of it apparently was shot at sea, sometimes 12-hour days at sea, not even seeing land, and apparently everybody was seasick. And when you see I assumed a lot of it was CGI. When I heard that most of it was real, I have to tell you, I'm even more in awe of what these people, and especially what Shailene Woodley did.
We agree, I think almost everybody that movie stars are paid a little bit too much money. But when you see work like this...
And she probably didn't get paid a lot for this one.
Yeah, when you see work for this, you realize that actually every penny of it is deserved. And I think the first time that I realized that I was glad I didn't make it as especially a movie star was some tacky movie in the way back with Kim Basinger, where she had to schlep through. The swamps
of
Louisiana. The swamps of Louisiana, and I thought there is not enough money in the world that would make me put foot in that black mamba filled swampland. Oh,
when I saw this movie, every now and then I would think to myself, what made Shailene Woodley read the script and say, "Yeah, I feel up to for this one." Oh my God! But anyway, Adrift, a surprisingly good movie.
I really recommend it. It's a great summer movie.
Afterward. I mean, we actually, to me, one of the signs that this was a good movie is if I think about it afterwards, wake up the next morning.
It's kind of haunting.
Yeah. So Adrift, it's still in the theaters, I'm pretty sure. So go see it, and if not, soon enough, it should be on demand.
Mm-hmm. I really recommend it. It's an exciting yarn, and the fact that it's true is really the cherry on top of the sundae.
Now, you went to see a movie yesterday by yourself.
I often go to the movies by myself.
Not that often.
Because my wife doesn't like action, science fi.
I did see the movie right before this, but this one just was a bit too much for me.
Well, it's Jurassic World, Fallen Kingdom, and I just want to say that it is a sensational movie, and it's a very surprising movie. I think really and truly that the reviews have not caught the heart of this film, which is dark.
Which is a shame,
it has a
because
very dark heart. It's an allegory for the times we live in, for the era of Trump.
I want to say, even though I probably still wouldn't have really, gone to see it probably, but my final decision was made when I read all those reviews that said it was silly. All the reviews said it was silly, and I thought, well, what do I need to see that?
This movie is not
silly.
If I
had thought that it was dark and all those other things, maybe I would have been more inclined to go see it, because I would have thought, oh, there's more substance here.
All right, you have to buy the premise. Dinosaurs exist because of...
But that's okay. The first one,
yes.
Jurassic Park, was a brilliant movie.
It was a brilliant movie, and this is the best Jurassic movie since the beginning. Absolutely, I think, uncategorically.
Wow.
The rest of the Park movies, 2 and 3, they were all kind of lame. I enjoyed the first one of the World. I don't remember it at all, but now I have to go back and see it because it's referred to many times.
It was
this
okay.
movie, first of all, it is a roller coaster ride. After the first 10 or 15 minutes, it never stops. I don't know where. I remember reading in a New York Times review, some review that said, "Well, you may be asking yourself, where are the dinosaurs?"
No,
because
that
so
wasn't
much
New York
else.
Times.
Whatever it was, the dinosaurs are here. They're more here almost than they've ever been, and their survival and whether or not we should rescue them as endangered species is at the center of the film, because the island where Jurassic World is going to go under, be destroyed by a volcanic eruption. And it's about greed. It's about people without moral, who exploit animals. It's exactly what,
this is pretty much
first of all,
theme,
of anything that you think of when you look at these creatures, it's elephants and how they're exploited and being made extinct.
And elephants aren't even dangerous.
By their right. Well, some of these animals aren't dangerous either. But it's a very exciting movie. You will root for the animals from beginning to end. We do have our heroes, and you will have a lot of great release by the villains, who are very villainous, getting just what they deserve. There are 2 references to the times. One of the villains calls a young woman who's the paleontologist veterinarian a nasty woman. And Toby Jones plays a very bad guy with hair like Trump. And at one point, there's a big gust of air coming at him, and his yellow hair stands straight up. But you don't need those things to make you think of Trump. All you need are the themes that this movie represents. And it has a very surprising ending, and it's a fantastic film. Bryce Dallas Howard,
Chris
Pratt,
Jeff Goldblum, B.D. Wong.
Jeff Goldblum has a very small part. B.D. Wong, although he's important, as a small part.
I think when it gets to television, I'll see it with you again.
Oh, I can't wait. And also the technology is spectacular. I cried the first time I saw a dinosaur when I went to see Jurassic Park. I cried at the death of a dinosaur, the very same kind of Apatosaurus.
I don't like to see animals die, even if there's CGI.
The animals are largely triumphant in this. It is spectacular technology. You will feel that you can reach out and touch them. And this is 2D. So if you like action films, if you like allegories, if you are upset about what's going on in America, if you want to see a good survive, I say go see this movie. Yes, it is a fun movie, but it's not a fun movie because it's fun and silly. It's a fun movie because it's fast and furious, and it actually has meaning. There are quite a few surprises in it. Go, 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 Jurassic World, Fallen Kingdom.
In theaters now.
In theaters now. I couldn't recommend it more highly.
All right.
And it's scary. I'm not sure you should take your kids.
Okay. Thank you. All right, so we have been wanting to talk about this next one for quite a while now, but it kept just getting postponed from one week to the next because we had more contemporary things to talk about.
Or so we thought.
Well, now it's even more contemporary than we even realized. So it's kind of actually
it's more
fitting.
germane to what's happening in life.
It's kind of fitting that we're talking about it today. It's the documentary about our superhero Ruth Bader Ginsburg, Supreme Court Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg. It's called RBG, and it's a documentary about her life. Now, first of all, it was directed by Julie Cohen and Betsy West, and it's women in almost every position behind the scenes. So, as should be, I think, in a movie like that. Now, we all know the iconic RBG, but do we actually know the story behind the woman?
I certainly didn't, and it's a fascinating story.
Yes. First of all, you will come out admiring her even more than you thought you could.
If that's possible.
It's the story of her, all of the trailblazing that she's done in her life as a feminist,
as a lawyer. She was very active in women's rights.
Always.
In a time when it was very hard to be active in women's rights. It was hard for her to get into law school. Mm-hmm. She was one of 7 in a class of about 100. She started off at Harvard and ended up at Columbia because her husband had to...
Well, and speaking of her husband, it's a beautiful love story about pretty much the only guy on the planet who could be with her and not be threatened by her and see her as her equal and really... mostly defer to her and be her advocate because she's kind of shy and she's not very gregarious, and he would go and really lobby for her to advance her career.
One of the things that the movie highlights that I find surprising, and I remember hearing a little bit about something, but this is her relationship with Justice Scalia, who she adored, and he adored her.
Even though he was an awful man.
They were both opera lovers, and I think that was what they bonded on.
So first of all, this is a really, it's also very humorous because she's extremely funny in a very,
very dry way, yes. she was darling. She was so
still
cute
is.
when she was young. No, but I mean, she was really kind of hotsy-totsy.
This is it's an excellent movie to see regardless. But,
Well made, a very well made film.
But with the news of Justice Kennedy retiring, and,
Yes.
and I'm
his
pretty
arm
sure,
being twisted to retire.
I'm pretty sure most of you know and understand why this is so important. First of all, specifically to us, Kennedy was the swing vote and who always voted for gay rights. And so it's very scary to think moving on. I can only hope that the achievements that we've already gotten will remain there.
Yes.
And
in the way our government works and with who's in the White House now, that is not a guarantee at all.
Well, this is the danger, isn't
Everything
it?
can be flipped on its ear.
The Supreme Court is really the last...
Yes.
The last way, stop you have on the way to oblivion, because they stop a lot of things that are supposed to stop things that go against.
And now it's conservative and will become more conservative. So, in other words, the Republicans, the conservatives, the anti-progressives, they control every part of every branch of our government, which is why it is essential to vote in 2018, vote in 2020, and get Democrats back in charge, because otherwise we're finished.
And going back to
that happy note,
going back to the movie, though, this is why it is even more crucial and essential that Ruth Bader Ginsburg lives forever.
There's certain themes in
live forever, not lives.
That have already we already know about in Jurassic World, but that's even advanced more. That makes me wish that we could make another Ruth Bader Ginsburg that could live forever.
So RBG is a documentary. I think it's still out there, but I'm sure that soon enough it will come to HBO and etc. But if you can see it in the movies, I recommend going to see it now. RBG, the documentary, and vote. In November, of course, and now primaries,
for Democrats, of course.
Yes, only for Democrats. Anyway, thank you for joining us again for another podcast, and email us as always, ladypartstv@gmail.com, and let us know all your thoughts. Everything.
And go to see everything or watch everything we talked about.
All right, so we got that settled. Have a great weekend. Have a great 4th of July.
Oh, yes. Happy 4th of July.
And we'll
sure
see
sneaks
you,
up on you.
Yeah, and we'll see you afterwards.
Bye.
Bye.